It was the biggest turnout of demonstrators so far, after a week of nationwide protests. The demonstration in Algiers started peacefully, with thousands marching in the streets after Friday prayers. They chanted, "Bye bye Bouteflika," and "Peaceful, peaceful." Many carried signs with slogans and draped themselves in national symbols. Large crowds also gathered in other cities, according to residents and local media. The protesters are against incumbent President Abdelaziz Bouteflika seeking a fifth term in upcoming elections in April. They say he is no longer fit to lead and are fed up with his iron-fisted rule.
It's simple. We just want a change for our country. We want a better Algeria.
20 years are enough. We the people are here, protesting. We want change and freedom.
Later in the day, things got violent. Police used tear gas to disperse the crowds and scuffled with protesters near the presidential palace. An elderly man reportedly died after being caught in a stampede of protesters. Earlier, Algerian Prime Minister Ahmed Yahya gave a chilling warning after noticing that some demonstrators gave roses to police officers.
But we should recall that in Syria it also began with roses.
Bouteflika, who will turn 82 on Saturday, is reportedly in Geneva getting medical treatment. He suffered a stroke in 2013 and has rarely been seen in public since. Authorities say Bouteflika does retain a firm grip on public affairs. His opponents, however, claim he's not fit enough to lead the country and that it is being ruled in his name by advisors.
Let's get more on the story now, and for that I'm joined in the studio by Bashir Amroun from DW Arabic. Thanks for joining us, Bashir. So, do these protests actually pose a serious threat to the Bouteflika regime?
Well, of course they do. They are the biggest demonstrations in Algeria since the early 1990s. And at that time, the regime reacted with a massive crackdown, which resulted in a civil war, with over 250,000 of dead and more than 20,000 missings until today. And as the anger grows these days, we can see important members of the regime, like Prime Minister Yahya, trying to threaten the people via drawing parallels between the civil war then and what's happening today. There are also parallels drawn to the civil war in Syria. So the regime is frightened. There's a serious possibility that the situation could develop to a struggle for survival for the Algerian regime.
Well, talking about those Arab Spring protests of 2011, we know that back then social media played a very important role. What about this time around? How are the current protests being organized?
Well, I personally, I'm not sure if the social media played the biggest role then. In 2011, because there were also pan-Arab news broadcasters who played a very big role. But what we can say about Algeria now is that there's some evidence that the protests are organized through Facebook, for instance. The initial call to the demonstration is being reported to have been spread through Facebook. So even though we cannot identify the initial source of it, what I can say with certainty is the videos shared over YouTube and Facebook fire the power and enthusiasm of the demonstrations and take them into even the smallest towns throughout everywhere in Algeria.
All right, so it's clear that these protesters don't want Bouteflika to run again. But what about Algeria's opposition? Like, is there anyone who is a credible figure that people could unite behind to replace him?
Well, frankly said, there is no real organized opposition inside Algeria. The regime managed in the last 20 years to destroy every genuine oppositional party. There are also no real civil society. So the so-called oppositional parties inside Algeria are in a patronage. They have patronage links to the regime and enjoy no public confidence at all. I think my personal opinion is that in the case the protests are successful and oust the regime, we have to put out everything new from the ground there in Algeria.
All right, Bashir Amroun from DW Arabic, we really appreciate your insights. Thank you.